Welcome to another episode of Merritt in the Morning. Klopp's out today, so I'm the guy, and we are at Cafe Audrey. And thank you very much, Tammy, for hosting us again today. It's our 66th, so we're getting along, and maybe when we get to 100 or so, we'll get this right. But as you know, our motto is work hard and be nice. We've got some beloved sponsors, and Honey Baked Ham and Stockyards Bank have been there with us since the beginning. And we know that Honey Baked Ham is at 421 and 96th Street. That's where Russell makes the suits, as well as right out in front of Menards at Greyhound Pass and 146th Street, in what is really called Westfield. It's Carmel Westfield. But we've got some specials, and maybe you can name off all the Stockyards Bank's locations. Producer Josh.
Yes. So our Central India locations for Stockyards Bank, we have them at Binford, Carmel, Downtown, Plainfield, Greenwood, Center Grove, and coming soon to Whitestown and Zionsville.
Yes, yes. And Honey Baked Ham has some specials.
They have, well, just so you know, Honey Baked Ham is more than just a centerpiece for your holiday dinner. They have 13 handcrafted sandwiches, fresh deli sides, soups, salads, and more. And they should be your go-to lunch spot any day of the year. You like going there for lunch,
yes, Russell knows exactly what I like. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know you like the honey money stuff.
Yeah, the honey, yes, uh-huh. Well, we, to the point we are here today, we have Rachel Hazaray.
You got
yes, uh-huh. And I've known Rachel for a little while, and we served on the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, nominating commission of recent, when we had to replace two commissioners, and I think it was something that was very important because everybody's concerned about utilities and the rates, but let's talk a little bit about you, Rachel, first. You're vice president of everything legal there. Yeah.
That's the official title.
Yeah. General Counsel.
Yeah.
Government affairs.
Yeah.
And 6,500 employees.
Right.
But let's talk a little bit about you being a youngin'. You're young, and you're vice president of a very large corporation. And you grew up in Hendricks County.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so you're a native Hoosier.
Yeah. You
live in Zionsville now. But talk a little bit to us and our audience about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, I'm a native Hoosier. I grew up, my hometown is Pittsboro. And, so fortunate to have just a great childhood, great opportunity. I am a IU grad twice over. So I went to the IU McKinney School for law school, is where I graduated. Then out of law school, I started in a small law firm in downtown Indianapolis. It was during the Great Recession. And so the firm was a boutique insolvency firm. So really into the deep end, right? Right out of law school, which was a great experience to really learn about creative deal making. It was really a great experience, but I rapidly learned that private practice was not a great fit for me. It's not really where I wanted to be in my career. And so I was so fortunate to honestly apply by a newspaper ad. Such a relic right now at this point to say, but there was an ad in the Indiana Lawyer for an attorney position at Subaru, and I applied and was fortunate to get it. And in my career now, I've just passed 15 years at Subaru and have been so fortunate to get to, as you noted, kind of expand beyond just my legal realm a little bit in my role.
A lot of it.
A lot of it. But that's part of what I love and I find so interesting about my role is I get to really touch all parts of our business, and I like to believe be a part of helping the company be successful.
And being living in Zionsville, having roots in the area, and understanding the education of Boone County and everything that comes with Really, in my mind, Boone County is a very happy place. It's growing, and we were just talking about Whitestown, and Lebanon is growing, and as well as even Crawfordsville and in the west side of Indianapolis. And personally, you've dwelled in this area. You came back to this area from law school, and your family's there.
Yeah.
Your family life. Let's talk a little bit about that before we get into your employment.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So I am married. My husband Neil, and I'm fortunate. I have 2 kids. So we are in the Zionsville school system. I have an 8th grader, Aiden, and my daughter Nev is in 5th grade. Nev. Yes.
Wow.
Both Celtic names. And
so you didn't watch a movie and see
no.
Nev Campbell.
Well, listen, my husband's Canadian, and so is Nev Campbell, and that is not a coincidence. I'm just going to throw it out there. So, it's so we have a great, really idyllic, and I think you're alluding to something that is so special about Boone County. I think we've said it's interesting trying to raise your kids in Pleasantville. Sometimes that's how it feels. There's so much opportunity. There's so much affluence, quite frankly. And it's really, in some ways, isolated from what's a very tough world. But we feel so fortunate, really, to be there.
And you're out in northern Boone County.
That's right.
421 and 32.
Yeah,
which
rural.
is just exploding.
That's right. Yeah. So our neighbors, we have human neighbors on one side and we've got horse neighbors on the other.
Oh boy.
And so, it's what an opportunity. And my husband, I mentioned he's Canadian, so grew up in Toronto. He grew up in dense city life, condominium living. And I said as we've been here longer, I pulled him further out and out to the country. And, what a gift, right? To be able to have, a rural life, but still be in the middle of everything.
Every year, State Comptroller, Elise Nishala, who is a friend of the show, and she was on one of our guests in recent days. She lives not far from there, and she has a garden party every year, and it's just overgrown, and it's just a really beautiful part of Central Indiana, northern Central Indiana.
It is,
and I'm not dwelling on this for any other reason, but we just don't really get into family life and. And a lot of podcasts are going directly to what people employ, if they're mad or whatever. And I like talking about the softer side of life.
Well, I love it. And I think it's, for so many people, it's their why. That's such a big piece of, I think I've always had a good personal drive. But then once you become a mom, you realize you're setting an example for your kids, and you're just wanting to give them every opportunity. And I think it's something we as humans all share, right? I mean, there's nobody who's not just trying to do their best for their family. And so I love that you do that.
Well, 15 years ago, you went from being a lawyer to in a law firm with cases, and the Great Recession was so tumultuous. That's the word of the day.
Yeah.
Tumultuous, Josh.
Good choice.
There was so much unrest, and people really didn't know. You were having a new president come in of the United States, and when you left the law practice and went to work for corporate Indiana, corporate America, was it a completely different, and it was refreshing, or was it challenging?
Yeah. I think always with change, there's some of both. I knew immediately that I loved it. I think Subaru is a unique place. We've got a really neat culture. I think I had an amazing mentor.
Oh, yes. Tommy Street. Phi Alpha Tommy Street.
That's right. And so,
SAE.
Absolutely. And so I was super fortunate. I loved that. I loved the idea of shifting from sort of many clients who you were just sort of trying to keep things okay, to being able to dedicate all of my attention and energy to one client, which is my company. That was super appealing.
When you took over 15 years ago and in this slot at Subaru, and It's Subaru. What is the title?
Subaru of Indiana Automotive.
Okay,
That's right.
Yeah, we try to be succinct here.
Yes.
Was one of your first questions, am I going to have to go overseas? Am I going to have to travel?
Was that one of the things you had to... interested in it, definitely. So I love to travel personally. So
Neil, is it Neil?
Neil, yes.
Was Neil in the works at that time?
Absolutely, yeah. So we were together. We're both lawyers as well, and so
what's his first question? Are you going to be in Japan?
Yeah, that was one piece, and I think and his next question was, "And can I go with you?"
Well, being Canadian,
that's right.
Being Canadian, he traveled.
Absolutely,
used to being away from home.
Absolutely, and he has a real wanderlust, and I think it's something we've always shared, and I loved. And I think that I mentioned Subaru's culture. It goes beyond sort of this Japanese influence on our culture. It's sort of just the characteristics of the people who work there. And I really saw that right away and felt so fortunate, really. But yeah, I mean, going overseas was a huge part of it, and realizing, because of a 13-hour time difference, that you have things like early morning and late evening meetings, and just how that changes your work style.
So a different language, too. Different culture, different language.
That is no small part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
That's right.
I imagine that was difficult in the beginning.
It's interesting, and it's something that you don't realize. Over time, I can remember I used to be very attuned to an interpreter who is almost ever present in every meeting that we have, and sort of, that the strange dynamics of what people are amazing, by the way. These interpreters can listen and translate at the same time. It's remarkable. I cannot wrap my brain around it.
It certainly helped.
It's incredible.
And so, legalese is a foreign language as well.
Truly. And we have such amazing interpreters. They'll meet and say, okay, first teach me legal in English. And then they go and they do research, right? To be able to really be close to their discipline and make sure that what they're interpreting is what we're intending to say. So it's such a neat part of the role, but it's almost become second nature now. I almost don't notice it.
Tom Easterday, when I would see him, and he was a force in Boone County politics, as well as the Boone County and beyond. Chamber of Commerce.
Absolutely.
The state chamber. Tom Easterday ended up, he was a lawyer, my fraternity brother, a little bit older than I am, but had a very kind heart when I was a freshman in college. And I can see how he had a kind heart when you're a freshman at Subaru.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and what a gift it is, right, to have a mentor who gives you both opportunity and encouragement.
And he got to know the language, too.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
He's a remarkably intelligent man.
Absolutely.
And partnered with his kindness and his seemingly endless energy. I'm still not I haven't figured out how he does it.
Yeah.
And by the way, Tom is still that person, right?
Well, just think about it. In a fraternity house, you had Joe Hogsett, Tom Easterday, and Jim Merritt. And we were all there at the same time. And, I mean, that's a lot of energy. Yeah. But, when it comes to the idea of walking into a completely different place, you need a smile, and he offered that. Yeah. And Tom Easterday's, this podcast isn't about him, but we need to offer our honor to him. He ended up being, was a lawyer, then ended up being the head, the leader.
Senior executive vice president was his title when he retired. And, Tom, I think we have a street named after him at Subaru. That none of this is a coincidence. And he really was instrumental. And I think his passion for Subaru and his passion also just for, building a connection and building a path for a lot of Americans, especially Americans in leadership, is something that's lasting.
Well, and that connection, that American connection to everybody here that understood both cultures was just incredibly important.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, we've got sponsors. We try to offer them up 3 times, and usually Klopp has this watch right here that is timing mid, but I'm going by my gut today.
Your gut's doing really well.
Well, midway through, Paul Moan is the market president for Stockyards Bank, and I want to introduce you to her because I like powerful women and people and women that are in the grassroots and doing everything they can to lead their companies, and you're doing that, and she as well. Paul Moan is market president, Stockyards Bank, and they have multiple branches, and one of those is opening at 421 and 116th Street.
I perked up when I heard that.
Yes,
right in my neck of the woods.
It is, and I think they're planning on Whitestown. Where are all locations? Because they are a massive amount of places that have found home in Indianapolis and Central Indiana.
We got them at 71st and Binford, Carmel, downtown, Plainfield, Greenwood, Center Grove, and like you said, coming soon to Whitestown and Zionsville.
Yeah, and in the very beginning, Honey Baked Ham was there, and everybody that watches this, all three of them, know I like to drop in at 421 and 96th Street, Michigan Road, 96th Street, see my friend Russell, and he makes a classic sandwich. They know exactly what I like, and it's just really good ham. We had two hams at Thanksgiving, and both of them honey baked ham. But they're located there, and they're also located out in front of the Menards at 146th and Greyhound Pass Road, and it's just the Kalb family. You walk in and there's a Kalb there, and being a family businessman myself in previous life, I understand how important it is that a family is running a company, and we still have that in Indiana. We still have this in the country. What are the specials at
They're not giving us any specials this month, but they just want you to know that, and I think you've actually covered this quite well, is that they are available for lunch.
Yes, they are. They are available.
Lots of tremendous lunch options.
And you can eat in there as well.
It is a
and they have anything from ham to turkey to their sweet potato pie. Their soups. It's a great place to stop in, either take out or eat in, and I'm very proud of that sponsor, and both sponsors, Paul and Stockyards Bank. I have my bank account there, and so it's home for me. Let's talk about Subaru. Tom Easterday really introduced Subaru to the legislature, of which I was a member of, and kind of the takeaway from my tour that day was how well they take care of the environment.
Yeah.
And not many people remember this, but John Motz, who was lieutenant governor at the time to Bob Orr, he had his Department of Commerce, and they had the idea, and the very good idea of going out of this country and installing an economic development arm. And growing the state and trying to bring car plants, automotive, and everything that serves around automotive. The Toyota plant down in Lexington, Kentucky. They had at one time, and I'm still unsure, they had 55 different original part companies in Indiana. So it's not just central Indiana. So Subaru. It moves here. It's actually an issue in the 1988 governor campaign between Evan Bayh and John Mutz, and Evan Bayh prevailed in that, and we grew it. If you go up 65, we created an interstate system up there that is unlike most. In the system of highways in the state of Indiana, we were planning a large amount of cars, and you said and when we were preparing for this, you had 65 employees, and that has grown through the years. Yeah. And Subaru has become kind of part of the grassroots of northern central Indiana, and talk about your experience there. We know how you started. We know Tom Easterday was a heck of a leader. And we know that you traveled there, but it's home for you now.
It is. And, you know, I think the greater Lafayette community is really a special place. You know, you talked about there was some angst.
A lot of rough road.
Absolutely, right, when Subaru located. But, you know, one of the things we feel most appreciative of is, one, being located within the state of Indiana, very business climate friendly, you know, very supportive of growing companies who have made significant investments already and continuing to help them grow. Greater Lafayette, it has been a huge champion for Subaru. And I think we have a really meaningful partnership, and it's beyond just sort of having a large number of our workforce who lives in greater Lafayette, Tippecanoe County, and that surrounds. But it's also our involvement in the community. It's the recognition that, you know, all of our employees are living and playing in the community where they work. And so it's important for us to be a part of that community and make sure that we're supporting, you know, everything from sort of civic organizations to nonprofits who are supporting, you know, just a variety of different needs. Mm-hmm. It's a really big part of our corporate identity.
And if I'm in your shoes, in Subaru's shoes, you demand, and you all are so nice, but you demand a quality education system.
Yeah.
And the services that government is supposed to offer.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Look, there's no accident that we're in the backyard of Purdue. We like to draw an awful lot of engineers coming out of that great university. We actually have a satellite campus of Purdue Polytechnic right on site. It's such a critical artery for us. But we also have partnerships with Ivy Tech, Vincennes University. You know, really our goal is to partner with, particularly in higher education, those organizations that can help us skill up our workforce and provide our workforce for opportunity to grow within our company. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if maybe somebody comes and they start as a production employee, but they have an aspiration to learn maintenance, for example, we've got a program where they can keep working and get their higher education and then plug right into our facility. And it's a win-win. It's a win for our associates, and it's definitely a win for Subaru.
Well, Subaru strikes me as a company, always has, is putting more back into the grassroots in a foundational aspect. And as well as all the different programs you have in regards to saving the environment and being a good partner. Because, you know, when you talk about manufacturing, people think about smokestacks.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, that's right.
But what I know of Subaru, it's just really the direct opposite. You if there's something to be saved, you're going to save it.
We try.
Recycle it.
Absolutely. So we have been zero landfill since 2003.
That is just remarkable.
I
knew that.
And we did it before it was cool. That's
yes.
that's what we like to say. And you know, the other thing I think is important to talk about is it's a living organism because, you know, materials are changing. Byproducts of our production processes are constantly changing. And so we're consistently investing, and we're always looking for opportunities to, you know, improve on our impact on the environment. For sure, energy has become a really big piece. As a large manufacturer, you know, we always say there's no miracle of how things are made, right? It takes a lot of energy. And
water.
And water, absolutely. And so, you know, we're very mindful of our impact in those spaces, and we're always looking, how can we make improvement? You know, incremental improvement, Kaizen, is a concept that is very interwoven into Japanese businesses, certainly into Subaru. And we really bring that mindset to our environment.
Dwell on Kaizen for a second.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's a word.
Yes.
Tell our audience exactly what it is.
Well, you know, as somebody who was not involved in manufacturing, or certainly not a Japanese company, it was kind of a new concept. And you know, what I say is it's the concept that you never stop improving.
And it's the word Kaizen.
Kaizen. Yeah, Kaizen means continuous improvement. The exact translation means continuous improvement.
I tried to do that as a father.
Right? I mean, it's
You as
not
a
a bad idea,
No.
right? Really, you could apply it to any part of your life. And
Yes.
it's what I love about it is it's the concept that you should always keep moving. Never sort of say, okay, we did that good enough. It's that concept where you're never done. You just keep striving to improve. And it really is the foundation of our culture. And it's amazing how it impacts what we do.
Well, ignore that. When we talk about Subaru and energy, we were on the nominating committee that had the important responsibility of nominating for the governor's selection 2 members of the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. And this was very important because energy is incredibly important for manufacturers, including Subaru.
Absolutely.
And how does the company work towards a future that you do not want to be a pollutant?
Right.
You want to be a good partner for society, but you got to build cars.
You do.
And you also, like you said earlier, you need power.
Absolutely.
What is Subaru's approach to that whole generation of power and how you get from A to B in the future?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think, the foundational piece goes to our environmental mindset, which is what can we do ourselves to improve? So we're constantly working on projects to say, hey, can we save energy by changing out pumps, by, changing our lighting, all kinds of just seemingly minor things. But when you flow it out to over 5 million square feet under roof that we have at our facility, it's meaningful.
Those little putts in life, you putt for dough.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely. So that's where we start, and we're constantly working on that. The next piece I think we look at is how we consume energy. There's been a lot of analysis of renewable energy, and obviously we're seeing how our utility provider, which is Duke, in the territory where we're located, what they're doing on that same front, because that all goes together to create our environmental footprint, particularly on the energy standpoint. So we're very engaged in energy issues because we know we also are mindful that energy issues obviously impact us as an industrial consumer, but every employee we have is also feeling impacts as ratepayers in a residential level.
So when you look at manufacturing and the basis of it is electricity, has there been any thought of getting towards more of a nuclear power source for manufacturing, or is it natural gas, or is the company happy with plain old electricity?
Yeah.
That was developed by Duke.
Yeah, I think, look, our perspective is we need an all of the above approach. We shouldn't be eliminating any potential option. I think our perspective is we need to deal with economic realities. We don't want to have huge investments that are going to cause a dramatic spike in rates for us or for the community, where we all live. But we also want to make sure that there's progress, that we're continuing to look for more efficient, generation of electricity. As industrial consumers, knowing that the greater Lafayette area has a large number of industrial consumers, we ourselves couldn't cost justify something like a small modular reactor or something like that. But if we look at potentially having an opportunity to pool with other industrial consumers in the same area, we think there's some real opportunity there. Currently, Indiana law doesn't allow it. And that's something where, we're interested in continuing those conversations and explaining how, ultimately any potential load that can come off of, our major utility provider is maybe good for all. I think it's going to be very fact dependent, and we're interested in just continuing the conversation.
Well, it's going to be really interesting in the coming years because the need
Yeah.
is it's growing
Yeah.
not only in central Indiana but around the country.
That's right.
And we saw that
Yeah.
when we had 57, 58, however many candidates, applications for this, and we had to get it down to 22. They had to get it down to 9. That there's a lot of knowledge out there about power, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that have interest in not only the idea of creating power from from a nuclear source or any other source.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many different ideas out there, and which kind of gets me to really the final issue that I want to talk to you about is, and everybody sees Subarus out on the highway, and there are always new models coming on, but I saw a stat the other day that billions have been lost by car makers on electric automobiles.
Yeah.
And what happens with America is one president comes in and he or someday she has a different idea of how we should power automobiles or our homes or anything else, and we have all sorts of cars out there. China is getting involved, in Canada, maybe even here with an electric car. Elon Musk is starting to step away a little bit from an electric car.
Yeah.
Was with Tesla. I know there's not a crystal ball, and we know it would be a very efficient crystal ball at Subaru because Nizan, Kaizen.
Yeah.
Kaizen, where are you, Klopp? Kaizen is there, and you want to be efficient, but is there a vision at Subaru on what a future car looks like, and what it's going to be presented to the American people?
Yeah. Oh boy, if I could answer that question confidently, I'd have an even higher job at Subaru. No, I think it's such a hard question. One of the things I think that we're seeing, though, is you mentioned sort of the impact of government policy, particularly at the federal level, and how that's impacted the automotive industry and the portfolio of products that are being produced. There's no question that that's been hugely influential and in car terms, rapidly changing. We live in 5-year model cycles. Most automakers.
Is that what it is?
That's kind of a typical. It's a good average. And so decisions we make, and I also say, hey, that stuff isn't like, oh, we decide today and we make it tomorrow. There can be a 2 to 3 year development cycle. So the changing policy in such a short time, I think, is having just a dramatic impact on all automakers. Subaru is certainly not exempt from that. I think, we're smaller as one of the global automakers. We have about 4% of the U.S. automotive market, for context. And so we were, I think, cautious. I think, when we think about as a business, we're trying to provide the products that our consumers want. At the end of the day, consumers know what meets their lifestyle needs, what they're looking for in a vehicle. And I think our goal is to provide them, the best quality, the safest vehicles that meet those needs. And so I think that that's where we're going to continue to use that as our primary
people will vote with their feet.
Right? And that's the reality. And I think you're seeing that, right? With EV sales in the United States, there was obviously a period where there were heavy incentives for consumers to purchase EVs, and there was a heavy stick from the federal government to automakers to say, hey, you've got to get some EVs in your portfolio rapidly. Once both of those programs were reeled back, I think we're seeing more of a stabilization of what true demand in EVs look like. And I expect you're going to see all the automakers adjusting. I think EVs are going to continue to be a piece of the picture. We're going to see hybrids. And we just started production of our first ever hybrid at Subaru Monday.
Well,
so
I believe that's the future, is a hybrid.
I think a lot of people like it. It's
that
kind of
range
the sweet
anxiety.
spot. That's
range
right.
anxiety.
Yeah, that's right. And so, I think we'll continue, but I think we're also going to see change and innovation. Again, I think the expectations for improvement and for increased range, everything is going to drive more investment in research and development that is going to lead to maybe technologies we haven't even thought of.
Well, everybody 50 years ago didn't know we were going to be where we are.
It's impossible.
So it could be quicker than that. And what's the new model name?
Yeah, so absolutely. So in the fall, we started production of the Forester. On Monday, we started production of the hybrid version of the Forester.
I see.
Yeah. So we're excited. I think it's such a great vote of confidence for our facility in Indiana, to have this opportunity to start off with a whole new powertrain for a vehicle.
Fantastic. And do you have a count on Subaru dealers in Indiana?
Ooh, that's a good question. We're an interesting business because we have a sister company, Subaru of America, who handles all of the relationships with the retailers. So I'm going to answer honestly and say I'm not even going to throw a guess at you because I don't feel confident.
But they're sold all around Indiana.
Absolutely. One of the highest selling, retailers in the country is right in Lafayette.
Wow.
And we like to
That
think
makes
we
sense.
have some influence on that, right? At Subaru of Indiana.
Well, it's a wonderful brand. It's a wonderful company. They're very lucky to have you. And thank you to our sponsors who paid the freight. And Josh, you got to run through Stockyards Bank and all the different locations in the state of Indiana.
Absolutely, Jim. They have them at 71st and Benford, Carmel, downtown Plainfield, downtown Indy, should say.
Yes.
Plainfield, Greenwood, Center Grove, and coming soon to Whitestown and Zionsville.
Excellent. And our friends at Honey Big Tam are at 96 and Michigan Road 421, and they're also in Westfield, Carmel, at Greyhound Pass at 146th Street. Rachel Hazaray, thank you very much for being here. It's been a real education, and this is another episode, our 66th episode of Merritt in the Morning.
1, 2,